And those summer camps are amazing resource. One of the greatest kind of empty holes that has been created is that the men are gone.
Yeah.
So the coaches, the mentors for youth sports, for youth activities, for all these things within schools, the soccer coaches, the MMA, whatever it might be, that they think they're gone. And so these kids are rudderless in a sense. We take that for granted here across the street from our church. Soccer going, all these coaches and parents and everything, the activity, that's like gone. It's gone. The coaches are gone. The trainers are gone. Everybody's gone. And these kids are like, you have a generation of kids that impressionable age that have no, no lead, no mentors. And so we're getting to fill that gap.
Hey everybody, Pastor Nick here, and I'm joined by Pastor Stephen, Pastor Michael. They are back from Ukraine, and this is what we call a mission extra, which is when instead of a sermon extra, we come and we do a video for you so you can hear about their trip and what they did and what God accomplished through them. So welcome back, guys.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Got here last night.
Yeah. All right. Well, at least you're rested and ready.
Rested and ready to go.
It. Yeah, I'm sure it was an easy travel.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was uneventful.
Uneventful travel, but very long.
Okay,
very
cool.
Long, yeah.
So let's begin with this. This question is for both of you. Why in the world would someone go to Ukraine at a time like this?
You want to start, Stephen?
Well, the answer is because there's tremendous need for ministry there. God is doing some amazing things, and the people that are there and have been part of what's happening, the war that's been going on for almost 4 years, they've been nonstop ministering, and it's changed over the years. It started out with a lot of people moving around, leaving the country, relocating to different parts of the country. And so there was a tremendous need going there. And now it's moved into things have settled in that respect. But the ministry is still happening, and it's still a huge need. And so the people that have been working and serving nonstop, they need to be refreshed, and they need to know that there are people that'll come alongside of them and encourage them. And so definitely that's one of the major reasons to go right now.
Okay, so what would you say to the person watching this who says, you know what, guys, there's needs all over the world. Why do we need to send you guys to Ukraine specifically?
Well, I think relationship comes to mind. Like, we have as a church a deep relationship with those that are ministering as missionaries. So I think it begins there. Yeah, of course, there's needs all over the world, but I think we have a relationship with these people, and it's a mutual relationship where they refresh us as much as we refresh them. They strengthen our faith as much as we do with them. And I think it's important just for the church to stay global. It's to stay like God's doing things over there as much as he's doing things there. And I think this kind of almost the exchange of ministry helps the church grow and strengthen its own faith and its own outreach. Mm-hmm. And so, but I mean, yeah, there's so many things that are happening in the world, but I think we have a relationship here. We have connections here. I think we can do a lot of good. And I think Ukraine, with the being one of the largest evangelical countries, of a percentage of evangelical Christians in Europe emptying out into Europe, and there being that we can have a massive impact just ministering and strengthening them as they are preaching. We were in Hanover, Germany a year ago, and as a Calvary Chapel, the pastor tells me, like, the Ukrainians are teaching the Germans how to witness. So, I mean, if we can encourage that and be a part of that, that's just to our credit and to our treasure that we have in heaven, one day, and the blessing that we can take part in. So, it's just, why do it? Because it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And, one of the things I always emphasize to people is, like, we've been involved as a church in ministry in Eastern Europe and Ukraine specifically since before any of this conflict ever took place. And Stephen, you were involved even before we as a church were involved.
Yeah,
so
sure.
maybe if somebody say, well, why'd you go over there? Well, because you have deep, long relationships. Maybe tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I'll try not to get too emotional about it, but...
You can get emotional.
Thank you. So, yeah, I mean, again, God opens doors, and you walk through them, and so the Lord opened up the door to go to Ukraine. My first visit was back in 2001, and then from there, moved over there and spent a significant amount of time there serving, pastored a church in Kharkiv, Ukraine, and so going back is special. After handing the church over to a Ukrainian pastor, I was able to go back in 2011 and minister to them and encourage them and see the progress that was being made, and then things continue to progress as the Lord has continued to move there through that ministry, and then there were a couple attempts to go back, and just things didn't work out. Again, like you have open doors and closed doors, and it just didn't ever work until this trip. So this is the first time I went back to Kharkiv since 2011. And so to see the people there, instantly, your heart is just for those people. And it was a really, really special time. So it was definitely an honor and a privilege. And you just look at Paul's ministry and you hear his heart for churches. And when he would say things like, I long to see you face to face, and, he would write letters, obviously we have them in the New Testament, and because he has a heart for those people. And so, yeah, what a privilege to be able to go there and to see them.
Yeah, and in Philippians, right, Paul thanks the Philippians. Essentially, the letter to the Philippians is like a thank you letter for two things. One is they sent him a gift of money, but they sent that gift of money via this guy named Epaphroditus. And he says, thank you for sending Epaphroditus to me. Like, he's been such an encouragement to me in my imprisonment, because he was like not allowed to leave this room in Rome where he was being held under imprisonment. And in a way, right, with the Ukrainians, it's kind of similar. Like, the men particularly are not allowed to leave the country. There are, of course, financial restraints as far as travel and movement is involved for them because of the financial situation, and the war has exacerbated that. So the fact that we can come over, we can support them, we can say, hey, we're part of the same body, and also we have existing relationship, I think that's very valuable. And something that probably nobody else knows except for the three of us is that from the day that we talked about you coming on staff here, that was like something we talked about. You come here, we want to send you back to Ukraine to visit and to support those guys.
Yeah.
So tell us, what were you even doing over there? I mean, what did you do for 10 days? Were you there for 10 days?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I lost track of time over there. And it was a perfect amount of time, but obviously could have easily stayed longer. So I got in. Kind of home base was Ternopil, which is western Ukraine. Relatively safe in the grand scheme of what's happening in that country. But the goal was to travel around to various cities, encourage the churches. And so from Ternopil, we were able to spend Sunday, have a service there. They were celebrating their 18th year as a church, which was amazing to be a part of, because I got to serve there for about 6 months at one point. And so, great to see what the Lord's doing with them. And then from there, we went out and we traveled to, I'm just going to say a bunch of towns that you can look them up if you care later. But Vinnytsia, also still Western Ukraine, special group of people there. But a lot like other cities, the pastor and his family are relocating to Poland, and so there's a tremendous need there because it's a great established group of believers, strong believers, and so we just got to encourage them, share with them, but they need a pastor. So
it's a city of about 700,000 people.
Yeah. So it's a big city, yeah, and a beautiful city. And then from there we went to Svitlovodsk, who Ben Morrison has been to Whitefields a handful of times, and I know Ben from back in Bible college. And so we got to see him, but he is, he's doing some other stuff, and he handed the church over to a Ukrainian pastor. And so we were able to go and just minister to the pastor and his wife, and just share a meal with the leadership there. And at that point, I was able to have kind of my first one-on-one conversation with somebody, and they were just talking about how, and it was the night before we got there, they heard a lot of explosions and drones flying overhead, and then that day they all went back to work like nothing had happened, and how that style of life wears you out. And so you could see the weight and the fatigue, and so just being there and just listening, you could tell that was very refreshing for that person. So there's a lot of those little conversations, and then the collective, sharing to groups, I think was also great and effective. From there, we left early in the morning and we went to Kharkiv, and that was not a part of the original plan, but as soon as we started making the plans, and I knew there were some people there from the church and some kids there that could use some encouragement, I was like, kind of have to go if we can. And even though it was probably the most dangerous place that we went, and so we weren't planning on spending the night there or anything like that. So just go early in the morning, see them. We had lunch with them. I got to share with the people from the church, but also in the midst of that, because right now the church operates a school within the building. And so all of the way it is in Kharkiv, because it's so dangerous, the kids don't go to school. So everything is online. But the church has opened up and allowed kids to come so they can kind of have that community element of school. And so you can see them all on their devices, laptops and tablets, doing schoolwork separately, but then they're together, they have lunch together, and they do different things. So I got to share with about 20 middle school, high school age kids, and probably I'd say most of them don't know a whole lot about who Jesus is. And so it was really, really neat to share with them. And then at the end, open it up to questions. They asked some amazing questions. And, at times really felt like the Holy Spirit was answering those questions, like just giving me the kind of the words to say, to share with them. And, we'll see what kind of impact that has down the road in the future. But you sow seeds and you plant seeds and see what the Lord does with that.
So Kharkiv, for those who don't know, which I'm guessing is most of our viewers, is a city of about 1.5 million people.
Now it's probably a little less.
Yeah. And it's how close to the Russian border? Yeah,
we were probably 10 kilometers from one of the front lines. And so it's probably 40 kilometers from the Russian border.
Yeah. I mean, that's like
close.
Our church building to I-25. That's very close.
Yeah, it's not very far.
And there's been a lot of bombings, even in the city center.
Yes. Well, the day before, a preschool was hit. And I think 7 people were injured. There were kids in the building when it got hit. And then one person died, not a kid, but an adult. And so it's just, there's a lot of things, there are things like that just don't make sense. Why is that type of stuff happening in this war? Why would that be a target?
And doesn't even make the news anymore over here.
No, it does not.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, Stephen, were you ever in danger yourself?
Well, I mean, relatively speaking, sure. But I will say, there were a lot of people praying while we were on that trip. And as we moved across the country and then back, we heard a total of 3 air raid sirens the whole time that we were out there. We didn't hear any drones, which is very common to hear, and we didn't hear any explosions at all.
Wow.
And so in many cases, places that we went had been hit the day before or the night before, and even into the early morning. Svitlovodsk was a good example of that. They got hit that night and then the morning that we arrived. But by the evening, things had settled down. We were able to minister, and then it was just the wildest thing. But everywhere we went, there was a pause in the attacks on those cities from the time that we were there until probably 24 hours or more later. And so it was almost like kind of the Lord just gave some peace in the midst of that to be able to share, allow some of those things to sink in. And that's just the sense that I got as we kept going and seeing that pattern. And then we got back last night, and I looked at the air raid app that shows, and almost the entire country was under the air raid, and you could just see everywhere what was happening and what type of weapon is being used in this region and that region. And so just to see our path be open up and be blank was pretty wild.
Yeah. So. I do remember, like, the last few times I've been there, there's this sense when you exit the country that there's this sense of, like, relief that you didn't even realize that you're kind of, like, carrying this tension the entire time you're there. And you can imagine what it must be like to live under that now for almost, 3 years.
Yeah. And
coming up on 4.
And the Lord gave a great amount of peace the whole time. I would say Sharon, that the most anxious I had was the next city after Kharkiv, which was Poltava. And it wasn't because there was anything happening, but just we were walking out of a restaurant where we ate dinner with the pastor and his wife, and they are amazing. They've been faithful this whole time through the war. He's an American. They're praying about handing the church over, as the Lord wills and all that, and as He leads. But it was just walking out of that restaurant and just having this sense of, this is real, and then walking through the city center with them that night, and just having a little bit of that anxiousness that I'm guessing that comes on people pretty regularly. But beyond that, there was a lot of peace, just being there, just trusting, hey, God has led us this far, and He's got a purpose for us being here and ministering to people. And then from Poltava, we went to this northern region that's north of Kyiv, and it is also pretty dangerous. And actually, the city that we were in was taken over by Russia early in the war and then pushed back. And that church there in Nizhyn, very special. The pastor and his wife, special people, and they invited two other churches from the area to come. So there are 3 churches gathered, and the fellowship that they had, the time that we had eating a meal with them, sharing with them, singing songs together was amazing. And you just go, this is real. Very special. And so those 3 churches, I think, are doing as well as you could ever expect, and the Lord is doing some cool things, and they've got a great ministry to kids. They're now reaching out to soldiers and ministering to soldiers. They had their first soldier gathering. These are like wounded soldiers, and so they had a great first meeting with them. And you can just see, like, God is doing things through these churches. So, and then we went to Kyiv, and Kyiv that's the place where you feel like, wow, life really just goes on, and people just go about their business. You get stuck in traffic, and you think, this is wild. There's a war going on all around. The city gets hit regularly, and people are just going about their business, walking on the streets, eating out at restaurants and all that. And so we met with the pastor and ministered to him, had a great time. And that guy has been faithful for a really long time. I can remember all the way back to 2001 when he was a young guy. I was much younger then too, but he's just been faithful through through the years, and then now he's the pastor, and just amazing. So good to encourage him, and then we from there head back to Ternopil and just kind of spend another evening fellowshipping with people, and just being there, encouraging them.
Awesome. Well, Mike, let's talk about what you did, because you originally so you flew into Budapest, and then you went separately to different places after being in Ternopil together. Stephen went to the east, and you stayed in Ternopil. So let's talk a little bit about what you did.
Yeah, well, you talk about us flying to Budapest, and then we took a train to Ternopil, which is exciting. So we fly into Budapest. We arrive at, 6:30 in the evening, and it's been 16 hours we've been flying. Then we jump on a train. Our train left at that same evening, 4 hours later at 10:40. 15-hour train ride to the border, and 3 hours. The only time I did fall asleep was when they were changing the wheels on the train, and then the lady tapped me to give me back my passport. And but then, beautiful ride in, and then then Stephen and I kind of parted ways. I had major FOMO with Stephen going off and seeing all the cities, but I got to do something exciting as well, and that's kind of just this whole thing that God's doing through music, and specifically through Room for More, this group that's been started by John Marquis, one of the missionaries we support, and a longtime friend. I worked with him for many years, and we've been knowing each other, known his family for again, relationships so important. And God's really used John and Room for More and his connections to just draw songwriters and musicians from around the country. And the music that he's been creating has been such a vehicle for the grace of God and the mercy of God and the message, and to going out through the entire country, and specifically to the soldiers. They do coming up now. We're coming up on Christmas. They've been doing this yearly Christmas concert. That's all the proceeds go. We support it every year. We send money for it, but all the proceeds go to buying clothes and equipment, boots and stuff for musicians that have been drafted. And so they're very much, that's kind of been their focus, but because the whole country's untouched as far as who gets pulled into the draft. And so when I was back there in May, we had done the songwriting camp with the various songwriters, and those songs that we wrote during that camp, we now got together and recorded them. And it was a very ambitious project. We were going to record 11 songs during the week, and the Lord's faithful, and we were able to do it. But it was, so that was kind of our primary thing. I was coming in to be as a producer, overlook the project as a whole. We were not only recording music, we were also videoing everything, and then doing some interviews and B-roll kind of to, catalog and capture the moment, and so that was basically what we did for Monday through Friday, the 12, 13-hour days, was to do all that with a bunch of people. And we even had folks from Vinnytsia come, and then Kyiv, which is down by the Romanian border, they came in. John had been out there on the tour.
Vinnytsia,
because it's Kyiv as well.
Kyiv is north.
North, I always get those ones mixed up. And they brought busloads of people to come and be the choir.
Vinnytsia is where Mila Kunis is from. Sorry.
No, you'll have to look that one up.
Random.
I think I might have watched a movie on the plane with her in it, but if she's dark hair now.
Dark hair. Yeah, she's from there.
Probably that one, yeah. But it's just people we said we can't put you anywhere, can't house you, but they just came. They wanted to be a part of this moment, and that's what we got to do and just the community that he's created within. As you talk about normalcy, it is there was nothing stressful about it. You would think we had air raid sirens every couple nights and stuff like that, but just the joy that was felt there, and it was just such an amazing time. Yeah.
Good. So you got the songs recorded? We did.
We got all 11 done, and it was quite ambitious. It was, by Friday, I was very tired. I thought I was going to come produce. I ended up playing on every single one of the songs, completely unprepared. I played mandolin and an electric guitar and a lot of stuff, but so it was a lot of concentration, creative energy that was needed, but it was it was a lot of fun. And what was really cool is I got to bring along a friend that I've known since the late 90s, Cornell. Cornell, he's an exceptionally good bass player. Great friend, because John's bass player, Yaroslav, who's also the head of YWAM, which has a base there in Chernobyl. He had been drafted.
Oh.
And so he was John's bass player. And so I talked to Cornel and I said, hey, would you like to come with us?
Yeah, he's from Hungary.
He's from Hungary and amazing bass player. And he actually played bass on one of John's early records that I got to produce in our Budapest studio 15, 20 years ago. So it was a great kind of full circle kind of moment. But he traveled with us in the train, and he took all of the rest of his free days from work to come be a part of this. And I got to interview him as part of kind of the B-roll for what we're doing with the project. And the one word, he was just, he's another outsider. Kind of Hungary and Ukraine have kind of been at odds with each other politically. Yeah. And the propaganda and stuff kind of filters down, and he came and he was a part of it, and that was the one word that he just kept: joy. Mm-hmm. He just said the amount of joy that was there with the musicians and with the singers and the songwriters. They just had this true sense of joy in the gospel and in the love of God, and that was just all he could talk about. And so it was kind of cool to see that from somebody who's not been involved, during the wartime, to come in and see that, kind of say the same things that I felt like I've been saying when I come back. Like, people don't, like you said, the normalcy, the way, but their faith is so strong, the love for God is so strong, the desire to bless and minister to others is so strong that you learn from it. You just you're humbled and just want to be a part. It's not tiring at all. It's just every day I was looking forward to hanging with these people and playing and being a part of what the Lord was doing and what God's going to do through these songs going forward.
It's so incredible how the kingdom of God and the church, right, the body of Christ, supersedes all of these political divisions and national boundaries and conflicts that go on between governments and cultures and those kinds of things. Then you find that, okay, well, above all, we're Christians and followers of Jesus, and we're family. And I think that, you get to experience that when you travel halfway across the world and then find these people who care deeply about the same things that you do.
Yeah, and there the Tuesday morning that I was there, Zhenya invited me to this pastors gathering, and I thought it was the pastors, elders from the church, but it was 17, 18 pastors of all the churches there in Chernobyl. There were Presbyterians and Baptists and Pentecostals and Charismatics and Brethren. And it was incredible. He asked me to share with them. I shared from Ephesians. They had started Ephesians, and just how Paul talks about the unity of the church in chapters 1, 2, and 3, ends the chapter with an emphasis on the church. He said that he's growing together, he's forming it, and then of course chapters 4 and 5 is kind of what does that look like, as you minister one to another. And then I prayed that great prayer from the second half of chapter 3 over them, and it was incredibly a humbling moment to be there in that room with all these guys. He said they've been meeting every Tuesday for the last 3 years. All these pastors from around, and they all just pray for one another. They each put forward their prayer requests. I'm going out to do this. We're doing this project and this, that. And it's such a humbleness. There's no agenda. Nobody's saying, hey, I've got this many guys and this many guys in my church or anything like this. It's I have this need, and you have a Baptist praying for a Pentecostal, praying for a Charismatic Calvary Chapel, and just kind of cross this. It was an amazing time to humbling to be a part of that and be able to share with those men.
Yeah, that's really great. So I'm sure people listening are wondering, where can we listen to this music?
Well, John right now is busy finishing a Christmas album. So yesterday, Tuesday, I saw some Instagram posts. He had the choir going. They were doing some recordings, and that's incredible. He's done a really great job. So they're getting ready to put out a Christmas album and then get ready for the Christmas concerts. And then the first of the songs that we recorded will be end of January, is my guess. And another cool thing was we had a young man come with us from the Masters University. He had studied there. He is the son of missionaries, Ukrainian missionaries, Connor McNamee.
Yes.
Gavin came with us. And of course, Gavin had grown up in Chernihiv up north. He'd been there 17 years, and so John had met him in Austria. This is a beautiful how the Lord put this whole team together. It was such an amazing, Cornel, myself, Gavin, even Joelle, Stephen's daughter came with us. She had an amazing time. She really ministered. She was like the queen of desserts. She was cooking, and we were like, every time after lunch, we'd be, wait, what is Joelle going to bring us now? Some amazing snack. And so it was super cool. But Gavin, he studied audio engineering at the Master University in California, and he joined us, and he's still there. And he was in his element. He's like, I want to come back. He's like, I'm home. This is like where I belong, So, of course, I think there's a bit, John's like, God's calling you to be here for long term to be my sound engineer, but Room for More could definitely use him. But that really made how the Lord put that together was having Gavin behind doing all of the technical stuff, because we could then do the creative stuff. And that's the only reason we could record 11 songs in a week,
So let me ask you guys this, first for both of you. Maybe somebody's watching this video and they're like, okay, cool, so you guys had a good trip. Nice. Like, what do you want them to do with this information that you just told them?
Well, my first, just continue to pray for the end of this war. Continue to pray for the church in Ukraine, for the unity of the church in Ukraine, for the people that are there ministering, for go to Ephesians chapter 3 and pray that prayer over them every day. The God is using the church in Ukraine to minister to the world, and that's as far. I just feel it. Just as much as we get involved with them, and as much as those refugees are coming here, I think God's just doing a unique thing, and I think just try and focus in on what the Lord is doing through church, and pray that God continues to do it more too. That's how you can just really get involved, and as in a prayer life with what we have done. Yeah, we got to do it. But I would think, just pray the Lord may open doors for you in your own, what sphere is God calling you into? Like, we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, that relationship. What relationships have you established where you can lean into that relationship and leverage those contacts that you have, that love that you have for the furtherance of the gospel? We have this deep connection, 20 plus years with Ukraine. So we're leaning into it. Same thing with Hungary. We're building new connections. You're going down, in Brazil and Peru, and the Lord's opening doors for us. What is God wanting to do, and how can He can take our message and inspire you to lean into the relationships you have and to get involved and be a part of gospel ministry.
Yeah, and one thing I would just add is that, this is something that I hope everybody understands, that as a church, this is what I think of as like the overflow. So our focus is here. Somebody might ask, well, aren't there needs in our community? Of course. Right before I recorded this, I recorded a video about how we're meeting needs in our own community through Project Greatest Gift and through other things that we're doing. We're also sending relief teams, supporting people doing disaster relief here in the United States. So in no way is this like we're just like focused over other places, but not here. Rather, this is all part of the overflow of a local church that's reaching people in northern Colorado. And then out of the overflow of how God has blessed us, He's blessed us so we can be a blessing locally, a little bit further out, like Texas isn't really local, right? But then, and other places. And then even abroad where God opens doors and where He gives relationships. And we are able to be a blessing, and I am convinced that the more that we are conduits rather than reservoirs of God's blessings, He's going to entrust us with more to give, because He knows that we'll be faithful to not hoard it for ourselves. We're going to support and give, and we're going to help here and there and everywhere, and we're just going to keep blessing as God gives us opportunity. And people in the church get to be involved in that, either by going, by sending, supporting financially, or we would love to support people from, we've had other people from our church who've had their own connections, and we've been able to support them. So I think that that's really cool, and it's a huge part of who we are as a church.
Yeah. How about you, Stephen?
Yeah, it was an amazing trip, and when you step out and you do these type of things, you start to sense the Holy Spirit moving, and you are just a vessel, and He kind of gives the message to share, and then the touch points and the divine appointments, and is leading you even just you get stuck in traffic behind, a slow semi truck, and you think, well, hey, the Lord knows we need to be there, 5 minutes later, for whatever reason. You sense a little bit of that, God's divine timeline, His divine purpose, and you're just in it, and you just go. And so, what I would say to people is pray that, like Mike said, to see what the Lord will do to connect them with and open up relationships. So whether it's having a relationship with Mike or with you or with me, and then praying as we go out, that's great. But really, there's something special about experiencing it and seeing believers worship in this context. I mean, just if you want to have your life like radically changed and your eyes opened and your perspective to the gospel, there's no better way to do it than to be out on the mission field. So obviously not everybody is called to do that, but they can still be a support and still cultivate those relationships with people that they don't know. There's Paul writes letters to a church that he's never met in person, and that's okay. Like he has connections with the people that have planted the church, and so that happens. So just pray that the Holy Spirit would just open up, maybe expand their hearts towards missions, the mission field. And if it's Ukraine, great. If it's Peru, great. If it's some other country, great. But just pray. Say, Lord, what do you want from me when it comes to Ukraine, the people of Ukraine, the churches of Ukraine, maybe the music ministry in Ukraine, maybe the ministry to kids in Ukraine. There's a couple summer camps coming up, and it'd be really neat to see more summer camps for kids start. And so maybe there's just, hey, I can get behind that. So just pray the Lord gives vision for how to come alongside people that are doing the work of the ministry overseas.
Yeah. And those summer camps are amazing resource. One of the greatest kind of empty holes that has been created is that the men are gone.
Yeah.
So the coaches, the mentors for youth sports, for youth activities, for all these things within schools, the soccer coaches, the MMA, whatever it might be, that they think they're gone. And so these kids are rudderless in a sense. We take that for granted here across the street from our church. Soccer going, all these coaches and parents and everything, the activity, that's like gone. It's gone. The coaches are gone. The trainers are gone. Everybody's gone. And these kids are like, you have a generation of kids that this impressionable age that have no lead, no mentors. And so we're getting to fill that gap, and we have some connections that we're working. But yeah, as you mentioned, the summer camps are just an awesome. We support summer camps through the Toronto here at the church, and people can give to that through the Ukraine Relief Fund. But yeah, those things are super, super important. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, if you made it all the way to the end, thank you for sticking with us. And we'll be back, with more videos in the future. But just remember, you can always find out more about how to get involved financially by just going to the giving page at whitefieldschurch.com. And there's a drop-down menu there for the Ukraine Relief Fund. And those monies, 100% of that money is going to help real people doing real things. And it's good work. So thank you for listening and supporting and praying. God bless you.